Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing. No story? No, forget the story. You gotta have a story. Who says you gotta have a story?
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon.
I'll tell you what it's worth. Not a damn thing. It's a waste of time.
Welcome to Frivolous Fandom with Mike and Kev. I'm Mike.
I am Kev.
And today, we're going to get into some Marvel nerd stuff. With us today, we have a special guest.
Hi, my name's Mitch Clay. Happy to be here.
Mitch, tell them a little bit about yourself and your relationship with comics and or comic movies.
So, I am a self-proclaimed nerd for a long time.
You're not just self-proclaimed.
No, and other people proclaim it as well.
You are certified.
I would say, I've seen you at least 4 different Batman shirts, so it's...
I've got my nerd stamp pretty tattooed well.
Right.
I have to be honest and say that I haven't gotten super deep into comics until the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been a big fan. I always watch all the movies. I was always a big fan of, the 90s cartoon shows, the original X-Men. Yes. Loved Batman the animated series.
Yes.
And so all of those, and so as a kid growing up in the 90s, I got spoiled on that stuff, and it followed me into adulthood.
I feel bad for kids like from nowadays that like their Batman is like. Did you ever watch The Batman? Hopefully you didn't. For your sake. It was good, I guess, if you didn't care, but it was like dumbed down. You know what I mean? It was like the animated series was pretty deep for kids.
It got violent. It didn't pull many punches.
People got murdered on a relatively frequent basis.
Open steroid references. Like,
yes.
Don't do steroids, kids. Like, we're 7.
You'll be tempted one day. But yeah, the 90s definitely a good time in animation, and then the 2010s definitely a good time for movies.
Excellent.
Yep.
So we brought Mitch here today to talk about Marvel, the Phase 3 announcements, because I think that's pretty much all any nerd is talking about this week. Kind of a big deal. The Phase 2, if you want to, I guess you don't want to call it that. That's what it's called.
Phase 2's drawn to a close.
Yeah. So the last movie is what's it called? Avengers. I know it's called
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. Okay, yeah. Was that one supposed to come out 2015?
2015.
Okay. So next May?
Next May.
Isn't it crazy how, like, whenever the first Avengers ended, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait, but it's going to be forever. It's never going to happen.
And we're here.
Yeah, now it's already, like, out. And I'm like, wait, I'm not ready for that to be out. I don't have $10 to go see that with yet.
That being said, I worked at Harkins
when
the first Avengers came out. So it's been a decent amount of time.
It's been a nice little chunk.
Yeah, and so much popcorn.
Can't get that smell out of the nostrils. It like stains up in there.
Or your clothes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think you burn all your clothes from the movies.
It's got enough oil saturated.
It lights right up.
They demanded I return the polos, and demanded they were. Return they were.
What quote did you have on your polo, by the way? Harkins.
There is no try.
Did you pick it?
I did.
Okay.
And then there was one quote from, like, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which I didn't pick because they only had, like, 2 3X shirts.
Oh.
And I look around and I realize that there's a lot of, like, I'm pretty chubby. I'm not that chubby. There were people who were way big, and I'm like, okay, that's where they went. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there are only 2 3X shirts. I'm gonna have to just.
Are you saying that running around gathering people's popcorn is not a slimming exercise?
Not when they give you free popcorn and soda.
Oh yeah,
sounds like an incentive program to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
The only thing you get for free at Harkins on your breaks is popcorn, and as we all know. You have to eat about 100 pounds of popcorn. No. You can't get full of popcorn. Let's just be honest.
No.
So if
You'll
you're
die
working
first.
like a double shift and all you have is popcorn, you just are like, okay, I'm just going to eat this for the full 30 minutes and just hope for the best, and you're still hungry. Unless you got some jalapenos. They let you have jalapenos with them.
The sustenance.
Out of their kindness, out of their hearts and pockets.
And budget.
Yeah, right. You know how much those jalapenos cost, son? You should be counting your blessings. So, jiving into it, jumping and diving. Is that what a jive is? Is that a jump dive?
Jump, jive, and whale.
So we're gonna skip the age of...
Is that or driving? So...
we're gonna skip Age of Ultron, dudes, and because that's phase 2. We're talking about the third phase. Because third marks the spot.
Yes.
Or something like that. So we got the full lineup here. We're just gonna go movie by movie, and then we're gonna kind of try to recall the comic knowledge we have of it. You know, like with a lot of these Marvel movies, they finally figured out that if they just make it like the comics, it's really good. Because, you know, back in the day, they used to have movie people that thought comics were dumb come in and write scripts for it. And then, like, steadily they've realized, like, wait a minute, the comics do great justice to these characters because the comic book writers have been working with these characters for, like, dozens of years. So, they've stayed pretty true to the comics. So we're going to try to look at, like, what is the comic storyline and how do we think they'll adapt it. And then we're just going to go right down the list in chronologically ordered manner. So, first one after the second Avengers is actually going to be a full year. Can you believe they're waiting that long in today's day and age? It says Captain America Civil War, May 6th, 2016.
Well, we have Ant-Man in 2015.
Oh, does that exist?
It's supposed to exist.
What is that not?
Now, I'm not sure if that is owned by Marvel or not.
Oh,
it's supposed to exist. They're supposed to be in filming currently.
Right.
If it was to land, it would land 2015.
Did they end up
that'll be our winner.
What's-his-face to be...
what's-his-face?
Paul Rudd?
Rudd, yes.
I believe so.
Okay.
I heard there was complications or something, right?
Yeah, I would like him as a Pym, but...
I don't know enough about
As a pimp?
Ant-Man.
As a Pym.
Well, you know, Ant-Man is pimping.
Yes.
He's pimping out with the worst power ever invented. No, I'm just kidding. I've heard so much defense for Ant-Man that I need to postpone my hatred of it.
I mean, he can get really big too, and that's useful. That's really, really useful.
So he's like a pufferfish.
Cause step on. That's
I'm sorry, Mike. All I can think of right now is, I don't know if you've seen Breaking Bad, but all I can think of is when Walt is trying to talk to Jesse about lying to build their reputation. He's like, "You're like a pufferfish. You gotta blow up, but you're not really dangerous," or whatever. And he's like, "Hell yeah, I'm a pufferfish." So,
which is funny because most pufferfishes are in fact extremely dangerous because of a highly refined neurotoxin which paralyzes you and you drown.
What a double whammy! So it's like if you're a predator and you manage to make it through the giant blow-uppy spikiness, you still lose.
Well, it's like, there was one pufferfish who's like, you know what? It's cool. We puff up and they're scared of us and they don't come. And the guy's like, well, why is heroin poisonous? And the guy's like, watch, one day. Puffs up, gets bitten.
Swordfish pops him. Can you pop a pufferfish? I don't know. Okay, what? Where are we going with this, guys?
But anyway, Ant-Man is in between Phase 1 and Phase 2 and Phase 3.
So who owns...
It is in between Phase 1 and 3, though, technically.
Yes, that as well.
Wait, so Marvel or Disney doesn't own Ant-Man then?
I think it's in limbo, honestly. Who
acquired
exactly.
Ant-Man by himself?
Who owns the rights to Ant-Man?
I mean, I'm glad because it's happening.
I'm gonna Google it, guys.
But that makes me... who just went, you know what? We're buying Ant-Man.
That's probably all they could afford, man. They're like...
Could have been anything.
Yeah, right? Like, it could have been part of a package deal. I mean, you know that Disney would kill to have Spider-Man to use.
Oh, easily.
Oh, man. But Sony's like, no. and Sony and Disney actually have a decent working relationship. And Sony's like, no.
There are rumors of different things, but I have yet to see anything that is tangible.
It's Marvel Studios, so Disney owns Ant-Man. Apparently, Lionsgate Entertainment owns Man-Thing. I know if you're a hardcore fan.
That's because they wanted to.
The only reason I know Man-Thing is it was the ugliest hero click ever, and it was really good. And so one of our friends would always use it, and I'm like, it's bad enough that you're gonna beat me with it. It's that I have to look at it the whole time that we're playing. And then I don't know who Namor is. Does that ring any bells?
He's Aquaman for the Marvel universe.
Okay, so Universal owns him. So
interesting.
Yeah.
That's the obscure of obscure in layman's terms, because literally everyone's going to be like, oh, it's weird Aquaman in a Speedo.
Right.
Might be hot.
You know,
Giggity.
Actually, here, we'll talk about that when we get into it. So let's start talking then about the true Phase 3 after, post-Ant-Man. I know how exciting Ant-Man is. We could talk about it all day, but...
Well, I'm sorry, last thing about Ant-Man. I'm surprised that they're going to go through with it, since Ultron is going to be a product of Stark Tech.
Was Ant-Man who invented him originally?
It's supposed to be, yes.
Okay.
In comics lore.
Okay.
Yeah. And both the Vision and Ultron are going to be Stark Tech.
Just a quick debriefing. In Age of Ultron, it was... Okay, so Ant-Man makes him in the future. Makes Ultron in the future, right?
Well,
or is it modern day?
He makes him in the present.
Okay.
But future Ultron
is the one that... Because and his directive is to save the planet. Save the world.
Yes.
Through destroying it, but yes.
Hey, man. Well, I mean, birth has to happen through rebirth.
His prerogative is protect the Earth. He
the planet itself.
Very correctly makes the assumption, as long as these hairless apes are running around, our planet is inevitably heading towards trouble.
Yeah.
So we get rid of the hairless apes. It's that simple. And so that's when he goes bad and cuts off.
So I would have loved to have been there when Ant-Man and let's just say Tony Stark are comparing notes, and then he's like, "Man, your programming here seems a little vague. Should we add a couple more lines?" Nah, that's good.
Meh.
That'd be
Defend
awesome.
Earth. Seems a little vague. Yeah, nothing bad could happen. Except a movie that'll make $umpty-bajillion dollars.
So after Age of Ultron, we will jump into Civil War, brought to us by Captain America.
yeah.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield.
Yes.
Was that really the song?
All who oppose his mighty shield must yield. And then to quote,
I feel.
Unless you're a plane or a block of ice.
Was that the movie?
No, it's a joke from How It Should Have Ended. They have Superman and Batman in the cafe, and they're singing the song, and then they make the joke about how apparently you don't know how to land a plane, and ice is your kryptonite.
Yeah, that's. Did you see the How It Should Have Ended for Age of Ultron?
Yeah.
I'll show you guys afterwards.
It's really so funny. Great.
Anyways. So yeah, Civil War brought to you by Captain America, but so technically this is Captain America v Iron Man though.
Well, I wonder how they're going to do that though. Because you brought up a very good point earlier when we were discussing. This is not the same Tony Stark as in the comics. This Tony Stark is way more...
Oh, yeah, here, let's see what Mitch thinks about that. So you've seen Iron Man 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you remember in Iron Man 2, and granted, a lot has changed with the character since then, but Tony Stark's whole thing was that he didn't want the government to have the Iron Man suits.
Right.
He's like, this is too much power for one man, except for me to handle.
Yeah.
And so he,
I'm the only megalomaniac who gets this.
Yeah, so he's in, a legal battle with them, right? And then in Civil War, to my knowledge, it's Tony Stark who's leading the pack of we should all give up our identities to the government and give them all our information and be under their command.
Right.
Which just seems a little counter to the character, but I mean, I guess he has changed a lot. And then assuming that now that in the Age of Ultron movie, it's going to be Tony Stark who made Ultron, maybe he'll be feeling guilty about that and be like, I guess our powers have gotten, even though he doesn't have powers, but we've gotten a little out of control, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how they'll spin that.
So those things make sense. Something else that when you're looking at the trailers for Age of Ultron, you see something very interesting, and that is Iron Man pulling out his Hulk Buster armor, which is a really big deal for comics. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking logically, moving forward, it would make sense that him creating Ultron and then him having to defeat Ultron by creating something bigger and better than Ultron. That's enough to give some pause.
Right.
And so what would make sense is from a storyline aspect is if remorse kicks in and starts it has a change of heart and moves back.
Right.
Well, and Cap is clearly going to be like, no. Hydra managed to infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. from its inception.
Right.
What in the heck makes you think there's not another group?
Right. Bureaucracy is bad, yeah.
I mean, at this point, I'm surprised Cap and Fury haven't had a little sit-down about, all right, who are those whack jobs in the shadows?
Right.
Who's the Cabal? Is that the Illuminati? which is going to be hard without Xavier. But And that leads to another problem. A huge part of the Civil War storyline was the mutants. Like, it was a civil rights issue.
Right.
Captain America was like, whatever, I'm not going to have to... I mean, they already know who I am. I don't get harmed by this. Logan over here, Scott Summers, all of these other Marvel X-Men who are part of the Avengers, part of the community of superheroes, they can't be revealed. Because there are people who want to kill them. Because they're different.
Right.
Like, it's very much a...
Even though, like, can we not just file Hulk under mutant?
Technically, he's a mutate, as is Spider-Man.
Still, it's like, the whole reason you don't like mutants is because they have superpowers that might kill you. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Hulk and Spider-Man are the same way.
Well, and Banner's a special case, too, because everyone knows who the heck he is.
That's true.
So it's like, all right, it's that one guy who, for some reason, is a Nobel-winning like physicist, but also, you know, the Hulk.
He's a good guy underneath all the green rubber.
Yeah. We're still going to ship him off to another planet because we think that won't backfire at all.
Right.
But, yeah, he's a nice guy. And then Spider-Man, in something that triggers a lot of the actual fighting, reveals who he is on camera. Right. And he's like, I'm Peter Parker, which of course opens him up to lawsuits he didn't even think were possible, thanks to our favorite jerkwad, James Jameson.
Which also opens him up to like Osborn and everybody else being like, I thought so.
Yeah.
Should have killed him just to chance it. Why not?
Yeah. Well, and so, and I'm very.
That's my thing. If you're like Osborn or, one of the Spider-Man villains and you have the slightest inkling that it is Peter Parker,
hedge your bets.
Why not just kill Peter Parker? Like, if it
what are you going to lose? He's a nerd.
You're a supervillain. You're going to feel bad about, he was innocent, it turns out. I feel bad. No.
Yeah.
But anyways, the only one that I think knows is Venom, but he has...
Well, the symbiote knows. Flash Thompson doesn't know.
Well, but he has a whole vendetta of like, I'm gonna defeat him as Spider-Man, which always leads to him letting Peter get his suit and think of a plan.
Right.
It's like Venom.
So taking this back to the Marvel Cinema universe.
What I was gonna say is, with Winter Soldier, they set up Steve Rogers' character perfect because his whole thing is he's so anti-establishment now. Mm-hmm. Because like, he was already torn about it, and then it just turns out that everything was lies, and the people in charge were like pure evil. So of course he's not going to want to sign himself over to be led by the government because they can't be trusted. Like, there is corruption
about how that
there.
generation reacted to Vietnam.
Right.
That, in a nutshell, that's Rogers is like, wait a minute. So I was Captain America. We fought the great evil at Hitler, and your legacy for us was we're going to start doing dubious crap. And literally, imagine, Cap has S.H.I.E.L.D. record access to everything the United States has done over the last 6 decades. I'm a history buff. I don't want that file. I want to be able to sleep at night.
Right.
I want to go to bed thinking we're the good guys.
Yes, I don't want to know. And he knows. And he knows.
Right.
And so now he's like, not only that, the one group of people who I thought were the good guys aren't. And on top of that, I'm assuming, the one group of like 6 people I thought were the good guys aren't the good guys. Like, he's about to lose it. He's going to be like, I'm out. That's it. GG.
And that's essentially what we can expect from Civil War, at least in the movie universe here.
Right.
It would make sense if they simplify this comic line, which, by the way, check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, I haven't
Civil
read
Wars. It's just it's a fantastically written, and the art is fantastic.
I think
well.
Millar wrote that one.
I don't remember.
I'll have to check, because I think I remember seeing that Mark Millar, who's written a lot of other stuff I haven't enjoyed, but I was like, well, it's not that he's a bad writer, but he has this really gritty style.
And honestly, it's perfect for that kind of a situation, because honestly, it's there, and there's, the schism is still there in modern Marvel storylines. I'm acting like this took
but
so long
they haven't
ago,
rebooted or anything since then, right? So like all the stuff that happened there, okay.
Well, there's a poker game after this whole shindig where there's a big old argument starting between the two sides, and literally both sides like sit them down and go, listen, we're just here to have a nice poker game. Don't bring it up because we will start killing each other.
So they're about to fight, and then somebody in the background on the boombox with a song, why can't we be friends?
Pretty much.
Like, you're right, let's just be friends again.
Yeah.
And, like, stop bad guys.
Yep.
So Marvel Civil War Cinema Universe, it would make sense if they just simplify it down to Iron Man versus Captain America and kind of running that into the ground.
Right.
Turning that into
you know what they might
Well,
do?
we know they love banter, so you could have an hour and a half of that movie just be pure banter fighting.
And I would thoroughly enjoy
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
You know,
With Junior.
You know what? It may actually come down to Banner.
And that would make sense. It would make sense to come down to Hulk.
I mean, literally, like Stark might be saying, "Listen, we need to take care of him.
Right.
Sorry, it's not worth it."
Well,
Because-
plus, Hulk has one of the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? Stakes?
Stakes is good.
Yeah. He's one of the biggest stakes in this, because when you're talking about heroes that we're worried about going out of control and messing stuff up, and that's why we need to regulate them, Hulk's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Like, he's priority number one of like, okay, how can we regulate the Hulk?
Ooh, and we have Scarlet Witch.
'Cause
and
you might
Quicksilver
not-
popping up.
That's true.
So there's probably, and they're gonna drum up the whole. It's the age of miracles. Humans are evolving again. Okay, there you go. That's now how they're gonna spin. I hate the word miracle being used. That annoys.
Oh,
the
so
heck
that's
out
how
of
they'll
me.
bring the mutant storyline in.
They can circumvent. Yeah, and luckily, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were Avengers titles well before they were X-Men.
Okay.
Thank God. And there's a couple of other mutates that they can just spin as being the next gen, and they'd be like, "Listen, these people need to be kept under control."
Right. Not only to bring up the Inhumans that we'll talk about here in a minute.
Oh,
which,
they are
Oh yeah.
which falls into
Space
this as
X-Men.
well. So that takes us from
Actually,
Civil
you know what?
War.
One more thing I want to bring up, and spoiler territory here. You mentioned that Spider-Man's really important in Civil War.
Yes.
And, I know there's a rumor going around that Marvel's trying to acquire the rights. Even if they do, I don't think they'll get him in time for him to be in this movie.
No, there's no way.
So, who do you think will take Spider-Man's place if they choose to do that route? Like, is there another hero that could kind of take his place?
Not in the big reveal thing, because everybody who's involved with the Avengers is a public figure, or they're not.
He's
somebody who
he's
has
the
a public
most
presence.
famous private hero.
In the cinema universe, there are no secret identities currently.
That's true.
Either,
And so
you're
it-
Natasha Romanoff, who does not have a public persona, or you're Hawkeye, who doesn't have. I mean, they're not. These people aren't known. They were the people.
They're
that were
known
with
inside
the
of
Avengers.
S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah.
So it makes sense that you just take out that portion of the story, make it a public interlock in between Iron Man and Captain America, and you run that route.
Okay.
It's close enough to the storyline that it makes sense. You can still pull a lot of the plot from, but it takes out the need for X-Men. It takes out the need for Spider-Man. And so they can do it within their own universe pretty easily.
Right.
I wonder if the government push to have this registry or whatever they're going to do to piss off Cap is in fact going to be another head of Hydra popping its ugly head. And,
Possible.
And Tony Stark might be like, you know what? Either he won't believe it. He'll be like, okay, Cap,
Paranoid.
you're going paranoid on me, homie. Number two, he might know and think he can control it.
Right.
Which will piss off Cap even more.
Well, that's true. I mean, Iron Man's greatest enemy is his own hubris.
Oh,
so.
Right.
Although, hopefully, he learns a lesson from Ultron.
You loosh.
So we'll... You're loosh. Wait, why did I leave 40 extra seconds on this bomb to blow up? That, by the way, is an issue in a lot of movies. We were talking about... Have you ever seen
Broken
Ninja Turtles
trope.
2, Secret of the Ooze?
Of course.
Okay, at the end, spoilers, Shredder is trying to push down the docks. He's trying to break them down. He's pulling a Samson, basically, where he's going to break it. But it's like, the amount of time it takes him, it's like, no, duh, the turtles could just walk out from under the dock. I just hate that in movies. It's like, I get that there's a lot to be a little bit silly, but it's like, that's the worst ending where they just kill themselves and aren't even close to killing the good guys. So that's why it was with Iron Man. It's like, you realize he's in a suit that flies at like Mach 7, right? So he's just gonna boost out of here. Anyways, nitpicks aside.
At least Arnold had to run away from the Predator.
yeah, right.
He had to be like, I'll get to the
And
job.
didn't he like jump off a waterfall? Like he jumped way far down, yeah. It's not from that movie though, by the way.
But he had to get to
It
the
would
job.
fit, but it wasn't in the movie. So, okay, looking ahead, slightly smaller title, if you can call it that. Still going to be a big deal. Doctor Strange comes out that following winter.
Yeah.
I don't have a super much to say about Doctor Strange because I'm not really involved with the storyline or the comics. My friend is way into it. I've read him. He's been in at least one Daredevil storyline that I've read. I'm interested because it's going to bring magic into the story, which... I mean, they have like Infinity Gems, mystical powers, but they don't have magic really involved.
I have a feeling they're going to go completely, like, all the way in. They're going to go full tilt. This is magic, deal with it. Or they're going to do something kind of like Thor, but a little more focused on the mind over matter. Like, these magicians, they're not magicians, but they understand the laws of physics better than anybody else, and therefore they can bend them. Which, either or. I don't care. Right. I like both.
Right.
Yeah.
They work.
What about you, Mitch? Are you down for full bore magic, or a kind of a neo explanation?
Metaphysics.
Yeah, right. Metaphysical explanation.
There is the what I hope for and what I expect. What I hope for is magic, because magic. I like magic. I like the sorcery aspect. I think it's a fun universe to play in.
Right.
Doctor Strange, the comics, was born out of the 70s. It's drawn...
So it's a little kooky.
It's drawn so psychedelic.
Very LSD influenced.
The way that it was drawn changed comics forever.
Right.
And just the things that it tried were just so ground-shakingly new.
Who ripped off whom? Was it Fate ripping off Strange or Strange ripping off Fate?
Is Fate the Dr. Fate?
Yeah. Like... Marvel and DC rip each other off so bad that there's literally no
they're both
at this point. But
I believe Doctor Strange was first.
Okay.
Because if you look at just how they were structured at the time, Marvel was very, very closer to the culture.
Yeah.
And they followed culture.
Well, wasn't
closely.
that when? I'm trying to think of. There was a notable storyline where I think Robin was on like. Heroin or something. I think that might have been like
Speedy was on heroin.
Oh, was it Speedy? Okay, yeah. It was like their answer to, I think, kind of because Marvel was doing the whole cutting edge,
because Stan Lee told the Marvel writers, "Make me stories," and then Marvel spanked DC in sales for a solid,
very long time.
Right, because people are like, "Oh wait, I kind of relate to this."
Yeah, and then DC was Alan Moore with DC when he made Watchmen. Ooh, I don't remember.
Well, that
sounds right, but I don't know.
Oh, like on the side? Because I thought Watchmen was its own. I thought it was under like Dark Horse, or one of the third-party comic.
It was on the third party, but
he was working,
and that's why one of the big uns owned that company, but didn't dare have their name on it. That's why they did not want the press flack in case people didn't understand. I mean, granted, Alan Moore, he's made some trippy stuff. Some really, really questionable...
not all his stuff is good.
Skirting the line between totally inappropriate, unacceptable, and quote-unquote art.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You can't see my air quotes.
They feel those air quotes.
Yeah, actually, I'm not even going to go into detail as to why some of his stuff is bad, but it's not... No.
Yeah.
Watchmen's one of the few things I can stomach from him.
I didn't even...
Right.
Not that Frank Miller, his fascist opposite to Alan Moore's communist, is any better. It's a different situation. Same level crazy, but yeah.
If you believe killermovies.com, Dr. Fate came first.
See, it makes sense because Dr. Fate would have, it has the DC
by a wide margin. Actually.
Yeah, like the 1940s kind of
okay.
We're exploring the mystical beyond, like where Fin Fam Foom was stomping around, and that kind of stuff makes sense. Granted, Marvel probably went, all right, you guys are way underutilizing this idea.
Right. But anyway, going back to, just the idea of who Doctor Strange is. I feel like magic is its core.
Yeah.
And if they don't bring it into the Marvel cinema universe, I understand, because it's got to be two separate things.
It's a big can of worms.
But... And so what I hope for is magic through and through. What I expect is what we're calling metaphysics, I guess.
Right. Which, is fair. Because, people like us who are going to have a podcast about their movies are usually going to be...
all the nits.
Are going to be really excited... Well, no, we're going to be excited for, hardcore, what the story was. Really harkening to the comics. Whereas, there's a lot of fans who... enjoy the movies, but don't really care for the comics or other mediums, and they still have to not unfortunately, but they have to keep those people in mind.
Right.
And they're going to swallow the metaphysics thing a lot quicker, and it's not going to be as jarring because there's going to have to be a lot of explanation for this magic stuff's been going on the whole time.
Well, they're not doing exposition.
Yeah.
This is you are jumping right into Stephen Strange kicking demon butt and being the Sorcerer Supreme. They're not doing intros now anymore.
It's not an origin story.
Yeah. Same with, I think that's why, too, they're going to start introducing more of the characters in the middle of a storyline, too. Because, like, Black Panther, they're not going to intro him. They're not going to have a beginning, an intro, you know.
Black Panther is going to be in Civil War.
Yep.
So they're introing the personhood.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just not giving the origin story anymore, which I like.
Right.
I like that a lot.
Right, because at this point, it's like, anybody who doesn't know the story is going to ask their friend who they're about to see the movie with, and the friend could explain it to them like that.
And Google.
And Google, yeah. Yeah.
There was also a joke where there's and I need to go back and watch the movies and verify, but there's literally, someone made the claim that Whedon and the various other directors have cut instances in the movie where there's not important dialogue after something happens so that people can turn to their nerd friend and ask them what the heck is going on. And I need to double check this, because if so, awesome.
Right.
If not, well...
Yeah, exactly, because they know that there's a lot of comic fans who are going to have friends that don't care for comics but are like, you know what, I like these movies enough to go see it with you. Like that kind of thing.
But the people that they'll miss with Doctor Strange, they'll absolutely hit with Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, yeah.
The sleeper movie of the summer. No one expected anything
To be
out
honest,
of Guardians.
no. To be honest, though, for me, I hated the second trailer they made was pretty good, but the first one, where I think it was like, I got a feeling. Granted, I've never read the comics, so I don't know the characters, but like, I hated that trailer. I was like, this movie is gonna be, like, I'm just hoping it's gonna be well made.
I've been waiting for this moment for a while. Kevin, do I not have a little bit of hipster cred for this one? Did I not nerd out?
Bask in yourself, Mike.
I was just like, yes, they're making this!
My extent of Guardians of the Galaxy was I played Marvel vs. Capcom and Rocket Raccoon was a character. And I was like, what the crap is that? And so he's like, oh, it's from the thing Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, what the crap is that? And then they were like,
Space Avengers.
Yeah, it's like Space Avengers. And I was like, okay. Yeah, that was the extent. But the movie turned out to be a lot like Star Wars, and I think and I didn't know, like, that was it. You know, actually, I put it on our Tumblr page a while back. Somebody they, like, compared the original Star Wars trailer, and then they cut the Avengers trailer to mirror it. And it was, like, perfect. Like, and I was like, okay, that actually looks pretty good. Cut that way. I was like, where was that trailer in theaters? Right. And then it's it's cool. It's, like, superhero-y and Star Wars-y, like, all in one.
It's a love story to all.
Globe trotting around, finding secret items and fighting bad guys.
I just really appreciate Marvel bringing we'll call it a second tier title to the movie universe, because this took people by surprise.
Right.
I mean, you can even call this third tier. I mean, there are comic book people who went, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it blew up, and what people are going to. You know, whether Doctor Strange does well or not, I think it will, because it's Marvel and people go see Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Right.
But those who don't are going to thoroughly enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Right.
Because it should just be more of the same awesomeness.
Right.
We gotta hear Epic Mix number 2.
Yeah.
We only heard one song. We gotta hear the rest. Come on.
Yeah. I was telling my dad about this. My dad's whole spiel is, they quit making, no, he's always like, they quit making music after the 70s. And, like, anytime, like, a good song will come on, I'll be like, is that 70s music? And so, like, I told him, I was like, you'd have actually probably enjoyed it, because A, it was pretty funny, and B, it had all 70s and, like, 60s Motown stuff, so. It's definitely, and the soundtrack, like, everybody loved it. How many kids were, like, getting all of a sudden into the oldies because of that movie, which I think is really cool.
Oh, there was a Spotify mix within hours of Guardians. Like, premiered.
Right.
Somebody went home and made the mix on Spotify that afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, it'll be interesting to see do you think they'll go into the 80s? Because I forget what year it was supposed to be whenever he gets abducted.
It's in 79, right?
Oh, is it? Okay, it's before the 80s.
Well, no, actually, no, it was 80s, so it was late. It's just that his mom was...
it was her favorite music from when she was a teenager, I think is what it was, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they, like, go 80s with it. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know why this is worth talking about.
Well, it's worth talking about because Guardians of the Galaxy 2 should start shaping where they're going with Phase 3. And that's taken a long elevator down to Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I'm assuming. Now, the problem with these rumors is they always get countered, like, months later. But originally, Whedon was like, no, the Guardians are not going to interact with the Avengers. I don't see how they can't now. if they're going to have a universe-wide battle royale for the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right. Well, were the Guardians, they were in Infinity Gauntlet, right?
Yeah.
Almost everyone was. It was a Marvel-wide event.
Like, Thanos is the Guardians' problem.
Right.
I mean, even in the comics, like, Star-Lord...
Well, I mean...
His biggest concern for the whole stretch... He's like, alright, we gotta stop this entire armada of people...
Like Rocket's probably like trying to crack a beer and like, hey, we stopped that other big bad, and then Star-Lord's like, no, the big bad is right there, and I don't want to deal with them, but we have to.
Well, and Star-Lord's a cop in the comics. He's a lot more like the Nova Corps people.
What do you think? Okay, what do you think about that change then? Because in the movies, he's just I like the way he did it in the movies. Yeah, he's the rascal hood rat. You know.
Street rat.
What's that? I don't remember how the.
You know what? I'm not going to say.
I don't know
the
last time I've seen Aladdin.
Even more. I do know some of the words, but no.
No reason not to.
Depending on how much you love Disney, to my discredit, I don't think I've watched Aladdin since I was like 5.
Let's not be too hasty. That's it. I'm done.
Excellent.
Mike, don't act like you don't know the rest of the words. The only thing I know is when he goes, the best part of that whole movie is when the genie goes, can I call you Al? Or maybe Din? Or how about Laddie? Or he says something like that.
And he turns into a Scottish little...
Yeah. Anyways, Guardians of the Galaxy 2,
peace,
though.
Robin Williams.
Oh, I know where I was going. Guardians of the Galaxy, the first, was the first movie that Thanos is in. I mean, he was in that teaser after Avengers. I don't count that.
Josh Brolin.
And it's Josh Brolin, which I really enjoy as an actor.
Only him and, I keep forgetting this fellow's name, but he plays Hellboy. Only he, other than
could have been Thanos. Ooh, he'd have been a good
He's got
Thanos,
the mega chin.
Yeah, he's got the chin for it.
The
absolutely.
grit.
Yeah.
The crimson chin.
Yeah, he's the closest thing we got in real life to the crimson chin. But yeah, I mean, this is the first movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 1, where he was like kind of involved in the plot even. Mm-hmm. And not just from an ominous, like, there's some guy collecting these up. We kind of know if you pay attention after the credits or not.
Even I drew a blank initially. I'm like,
oh, I know. Everyone now is like, oh yeah, Thanos. But I remember after Avengers, like
no one knew.
I looked down the line, I was like, who's that supposed to be?
It just felt so obscure.
Right.
Which I loved. I loved that it felt obscure, and I felt surprised.
Right.
One comic fan who watched it with me from the theater who I worked at was like, Thanos. I'm like, oh. They're scraping the bottom, like exact words. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel for that one.
It's like the top of the barrel. It's just that you can't. Thanos is one of those villains you can't go to a lot. It's like once you have a Marvel-wide event about Infinity War, it's not like you can just go back to Thanos next issue and revisit it. It's like he's a big deal. I don't have. So they did Infinity Gauntlet and then Infinity War. Was that a sequel to it or its own?
They were connected, but I wouldn't call them a sequel.
Okay. But I'm sure they were years apart, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Did they say if they're going to bring in Marvel into the
Captain
universe?
Marvel?
Yeah.
Why are we putting the accent on the...
No, it's Marvel.
Is it?
It is. Because Captain Marvel...
Do I have to put my pinky up when I say it?
Well, okay, it's his name...
Captain Marvel.
His name got split into Marvel because Captain Marvel from DC and yada, yada, yada. He's a Kree...
okay. I'm thinking of a DC hero.
No.
I'm thinking of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, no.
Well, we have Captain Marvel in this line too, who will have her own story, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Yes. Just because we're going to be, just because comics. It's just
right.
Because if I remember correctly, they got around. I'm probably wrong about this, but they made female Captain Marvel just to mess with DC because they're like, no.
Well, is this one around when they're making Deadpool too, just to mess with DC?
You know what? I wonder. I don't know the timeline for that. But
that's what's so funny is like Deadpool's character he's the ultimate troll, but it's great because he was invented to be a troll. It was like Marvel being like, we're gonna rip you off again and make it more popular than your version.
My favorite scene in Marvel Comics, and this is totally just my own subject. Like, I'm not saying it's the best scene, but it's my favorite. Is Deadpool fighting Spider-Man because they are talking smack the whole time. Mm-hmm. Deadpool talks to the fourth wall, and Spider-Man literally goes, "Who the hell are you talking to? What are you doing?"
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, have you ever seen the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon that's going on right now?
I've seen a little bit. I haven't watched it through, but I've liked what I've seen quite a bit.
Right. Because
it feels comic booky.
Right. And, absolutely. And they really hiked up the humor for it. And Drake Bell actually is not, or John. No, which one was which? Drake.
Drake.
Drake Bell, Spider-Man, which I was like, it took me a long time to realize who was the voice. But like their interaction with Deadpool in that show was exactly like that, because Spider-Man always does the asides, where he's talking to the audience, and then I don't remember, it's something like Deadpool does it, and then Spider-Man like all of a sudden comes in and talks. He's like, "Dude, I'm the one that talks here," basically. Anyways, so Guardians 2, I don't know enough about it to like speculate on what the story will be.
They've deviated so far that I have nothing because. Most of the storylines for Marvel are like cop stuff. It's like, okay, it's like Green Lantern Corps. Okay, we're going to this planet to go deal with this warlord because I'm the Star-Lord.
It makes sense that this Guardians of the Galaxy 2 movie would be for the sole purpose to start setting up more intergalactic storyline for Marvel to work off of. Right. So it would make sense that if that's what they're doing, they could pull from multiple storylines from their past and make it work somehow, but I don't think that that's their emphasis with this movie in mind. That's pure speculation. There's no way to know. Right. But that would make sense.
It'd be interesting if they integrated Asgard finally into the galactic scale, because, I mean, we had... The Asgardians dealt with the Collector, but I haven't heard the Nova Corps mention anything about them, and you'd think a military presence like Asgard would be factored in. Okay, we're going to have a galactic-wide civil war. What are the Norse people doing? Right. They got a spear that can, blow up planets.
Right. Are they on our side, or what's going on?
Well, that would make sense that we have Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in 2017, followed by Thor Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm. One last thing.
We also haven't seen any Skrulls yet. Now, I know they haven't even hinted, but...
Are they in that storyline?
It'd be funny if they... Well, they just haven't even... Secret Invasion is a whole nother ball of wax, but it'd be funny if they managed to oh, by the way, Thanos has the Skrulls.
Right. One last thing I do want to comment, because, on what you're talking about how Guardians is the biggest setup movie, really, for Infinity War. It makes sense because that movie is space. All the other Marvel movies, even the Avengers and even, I'm pretty sure Age of Ultron, it's all very Earthbound. Thor is in space, but it's just Thor. Whenever the only person from Earth in Thor is Natalie Portman, and I don't think she's going to be important in most of the storylines. So Guardians is set in space, and so it's how else are you going to set up, because the Infinity War is all over the place, right? So yeah, it really makes sense.
Unless Thanos, I honestly, what's probably going to happen is Thanos is going to bring the fight to Earth, and there's going to be a space component where the fight's going on in space and they talk about it. But I'm guessing one of the gems, the last gem they need, is on Earth.
Right. Well, it'll kind of, because if in Thor 2, spoilers, it turns out that the very center of the convergence is Manhattan or something. It wasn't Manhattan, it was Greenwich Village or something like that. It's of course it is. Course. Probably because it's cheaper to film on Earth than, in outer space.
Yes.
Actually, probably not. All you need is a green screen.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, and then moving on. So Thor Ragnarok is in space. And have they announced if any of the other Avengers are in Thor Ragnarok?
I haven't heard.
Everything's early stages for that one.
Okay.
We're looking at 2017, so we're starting to get further down that plot line.
So let's get a little spoilery from what we know of the comics, because you guys were speculating on Thor's head remaining intact.
So if Odin has been killed, which is possible,
spoilers by Loki.
Yeah, you're
right. I'll just put in the description of this,
just freaking spoilers.
If you've only watched this, if you've seen every movie through Guardians of the Galaxy, even though Mitch hasn't seen Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
We'll go see it once it's in the dollar theaters, for sure.
If Odin's dead, that could set up a really interesting dynamic where Loki now does actually have a group of the Einherjar who are loyal to him now. And he's I'm the king, deal with it. And Thor has to lead this really nasty war in the heavens during Ragnarok. That would be interesting. Or we must save the Allfather, or yada yada. I don't see how the Asgardian soldiers are going to fight for Loki if Odin in fact is alive, because that's simply treason. One of the reasons why Loki was able to take over is that he had effectively dealt with Odin. Right. He at least convinced everybody Odin was dead. So he was the next heir, period.
Well, that's what's going to be annoying. I mean, I guess that would be in Loki's character, but if everything's going great for him, and then he for some reason can't resist to taunt Thor and reveals to Thor that it's actually him.
Ooh, yeah,
I would be dude, all you gotta do is just not show anybody that you're not Odin, even though I guess when he's acting not quite like Odin, it'll be weird. But.
But it's gonna mess with him because he's pretending he's not king.
Right.
He's a sham. He's still a fake king.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna be like, the hell with this. I'm Loki. Bow.
Right.
I am Loki. Bow to my pokey stick. Kiss the pokey stick. Yeah, no, that's true. His once again another guy who's hubris is just too great, too grand.
Except he's even funnier than Tony Stark's character. Like in terms of I laugh when Tony Stark is making snark, but oh my gosh, I was on the floor when Loki was taunting Thor about the Avengers stuff.
Right.
Walks in as Captain
America.
America.
Their banter in Thor
I feel like fighting
really
for justice in the American way. I'm like, ooh, I just lost it.
He had a nerdgasm, as we like to say.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Throw that little tidbit in that you were talking about with Chris Hemsworth's contractual.
So Chris Hemsworth has a contractual. Yes.
Contractual obligation.
He's got to be in 6 movies.
Because money.
Because money. And Thor Ragnarok will be his fifth movie.
Okay.
So it would make sense that at the end of Ragnarok, which Ragnarok is supposed to be the end of many, many things. That's how mythology works. That's how the comic lines work. And so it would make sense that at the end of Thor Ragnarok, we won't see Thor again, probably till 2019, Avengers Infinity War Part 2.
I wonder if
because that brings back the warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
Allfather comes back. Allfather Thor is leading the Einherjar into battle against the Thanos forces, which are clearly going to be just mopping the floor with our
right.
That sends the shivers up the spine. The reinforcements are here, and Thor is leading the way. So what you're
telling me...
Rohan has arrived!
Hang on, let me see if I can condense this down into one logical thought. So you're telling me that Thor is Gandalf.
Or Theoden.
Gandalf. I only know so much about Lord of the Rings, Mike. I'm talking about when he charges in, though.
Yeah, Return of the King.
The ghosts. The ghosts.
Actually, that happened. That battle had 2 of those because the horsemen showed up first, and then that didn't quite work, and then the ghosts showed up. So they needed 2 for that battle.
It turns out that reinforcements are great for battle, and if it's a movie, you know they're always going to show up late. Otherwise, you wouldn't have 45 minutes of battling to do.
Right.
So yeah, Thor will be the Gandalf in Infinity War Part 2. You heard it first here.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Stop. Hammer time.
So, but yeah, if he's only going to be in one more movie after the Ragnarok, you gotta think it's gonna be the last. It
makes sense
finale.
that they hold him for a finale. That you hold him for warm and fuzzies, and you bring him back at the end.
That way, even people like me who are like
getting him for cheap though, so they may squeeze.
unless they do some more debates,
right?
Yeah,
and miss play with.
I was gonna say, even if they bring him back in Infinity War Part 2, people like me who don't necessarily love the character are gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, he's back.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, whatever, sure.
Right. Alrighty.
Why not? He hit stuff. I agree with that.
Well, and this stuff cracks me up because you have people who have good star power, Scarlett Johansson, who sadly because of how sexist Hollywood is and the fact that she's attractive, there's kind of like a cap for how much she can be paid for anything. Right. She's been lumped into that. Stinks, but it's true. Do
we want to know how much he's making? It's many millions, so it's not the worst.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But for somebody like Downey Jr., he can saunter into Marvel Studios and says, "You're paying me $40 million for me to show up in a Civil War," because he can legitimately say, either I'm devoting my time and your money to this project, or I'm off hunting another Oscar or a Oscar. I don't know if he's had one yet.
Right.
I vaguely remember him at least getting nominated for Chaplin, but that's a whole
He's not in the Leo category, is he?
I don't know.
Anyways,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But he can go, I'm at the stage in my career where I need to be hunting gold. So either you're going to pay me to not care about the gold, or I'm going to go hunt gold.
Right.
And which is what happened. He got $40 million.
Right.
Well, maybe the final Avengers will pull another Lord of the Rings, sorry to bring it up, but pull Return of the King, where they just give it every Oscar because to honor that it's done.
It's possible.
You know what?
We don't know what Phase 4 is.
Yeah, right. Probably have 3 times more movies.
You know what? I hope I'm wrong, but I predict that Hollywood is still going to keep its bigotry against comic books well into
Till all the old guys are dead. Let's be honest.
I think it'll stand until something absolutely changes.
Mm-hmm.
And
AKA the Academy Board dying from old age.
Yeah.
It'll either be something changes internally, or a comic book movie puts it in a realm that it cannot be disputed.
Honestly, in general, a movie can't be fun at all if it wants to win.
Yeah.
At least Best Picture. I mean,
well, the Slumdog Millionaire burst that one the hell open with the triumphant dance number at the end of that movie.
I've never seen it, honestly.
Don't.
John.
Those are hours I can't get back.
Well, honestly, I liked the movie. I did not like it anywhere near as much as Heath Ledger's performance. I'm still salty about that.
Yeah.
Still salty.
Well, at least he won an Oscar. The movie didn't win an Oscar.
Yeah, the movie should have too.
By the way, Robert Downey Jr. has not won an Oscar. So, scrambling further, after Thor Ragnarok, we approach the Black Panther.
Which is by far the one thing that made me squee when I heard about all of this. It was the one thing that brought out the inner fangirl, and I flipped out. They're really doing it. I'm so incredibly excited for Black Panther.
So, what is it about Black Panther that you enjoy? Just that he's kind of...
I love Black Panther's history as being the first major African American superhero as a whole. But I also just like that story. So, for those of you who don't know, because Black Panther is another one of those obscure things, if you only know Marvel movie, you're going to hear Black Panther and say, what's that? And so, Black Panther is all about, in Africa, they've got their own private country named Wakanda. And Wakanda has never been defeated in battle. They've never given up slaves. They are this super ultra advanced people. And so they don't need anybody else. Black Panther,
so like Switzerland.
Well, the difference is they're not pacifist. They resisted all forms of colonization, all of it, and they're pretty. I mean, it's not like the people surrounded in Africa like them because
because things aren't nearly as good. Sounds like in other parts.
Wakanda said, "Here are our borders. I don't care if you're black, white, or purple. You're not crossing until we say so." And so, even if other Africans crossed, they got vaporized. So
right.
But
I love T'Challa, which is his real name. He is
you just like saying that name.
It's a great name.
I don't deny it.
It's a fantastic name.
Certainly better than his alter.
Wait, what was it? T'Challa. What was it?
T'Challa.
T'Challa. That was close.
You were close.
T'Challa.
He pulls in martial arts stuff. He's got these super sharp spikes on the ends of his hands, so he's kind of got the Wolverine thing.
He's the closest we're going to get to Wolverine.
He's super athletic.
He's
super smart.
You can maybe vouch for a little bit. I was told by one of my friends, he's like, it drives me crazy that, a stereotype is that if Marvel has a Batman, Daredevil's kind of the closest thing. Although Moon Knight, I've been learning, is a little bit like Batman, except he kills people like crazy. But Daredevil's kind of the closest thing because just in terms of flavor, but really characters, and they both started doing what they're doing because their parents died.
Yeah.
But someone was telling me that he thinks, honestly, Black Panther's the closest thing that Marvel has to Batman. I'd be curious to see what you think about that.
When looking
and he said it wasn't like, uncanny, like, oh my goodness, they're the same, but
looking into just skill sets,
right,
and things, he does work like Batman in many ways. He's a stealth character. Right. He is the Black Panther,
right?
But he's incredibly strong. He's incredibly athletic. But he's got incredible resources that everyone else wants.
Right.
So there are, comparisons to be made.
There's nothing worse than an assassin with diplomatic immunity. So, he just brained the evil person, or he severely beat the evil person he was coming to get. Whether or not your government's protecting him doesn't matter. Diplomatic immunity.
Right.
Come on, and he knows it too.
So Black Panther, it depends on what you're going off of, because there are some storylines where he is an Avenger, and there are some storylines where they really want him to be an Avenger, and he's like, no, I've got my own thing. Thanks.
The interactions between him and
So he'll be on the whole. Where does he fall then in Civil War?
Oh no, he's he's anti-Shield, always.
Yes.
He and Nick Fury do not get along at all.
He's like, if your government was as dope as Wakanda's, then I would be down for it.
Well, and he and Stark don't get along.
Right.
Because if I remember correctly, Wakanda is they're not, communist is not the right term at all, but they're not capitalist. They're very egalitarian.
Controlled.
Right.
You do not let greed run your stuff. And he looks at Tony Stark and says, "You're a greedy jerkwad. I don't like you." And he says that out loud.
To be fair, he doesn't like most people.
Your greed, I can smell it. Okay, I don't like it.
And he's the one guy in the room with the balls to tell Tony Stark, "I don't like you."
Black Panther doesn't pull many punches. He's a very strong character.
Straight
so
shooter.
I'm very excited to see what they do with him within the Marvel Universe. They've got a absolutely fantastic actor lined up for him.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you like Chadwick Boseman, who, for those, most people know by now, but if you have seen the Jackie Robinson story, which came out a year or two ago, and then I went and saw the James Brown movie, where he was James Brown. It wasn't a particularly great movie, but he was very entertaining in it. That's what I'll say. And I think he's a capable actor, so.
I'm curious to see what dialect they pick for him to have, like regionally, which African dialect.
It's going to be interesting to see what type of accent he holds, but as actor quality is concerned, I can't think of many African American actors that I'd rather see.
At least in the right age range. Yeah.
It makes sense that he's a young guy. It makes sense that he is fresh enough to kind of make his mark here, but he's also well known enough to bring star power to the system.
Right.
It's just, I'm just so very excited.
He's also dark enough to be considered African. Like,
right.
I love,
like Will Smith, I'm sorry, could not be
guy plays Heimdall, we just talked about him. What is his name?
Oh. Yeah, he had a weird name.
Isba, or something along those lines, right?
I would rock the Casbah.
I would love him in the acting sense, but he's very clearly not purely of African descent. He very clearly has some. I'm just going to speculate. He has some Caucasian in him.
And he's
Idris Elba.
Elba.
And he's already Heimdall.
Exactly. Well, and then the only other character I can think of that's, I don't know if this guy's A-list because obviously I can't remember his name, but he played.
Oh, wait a minute! If Eddie Murphy can be every character in a movie, why can't Heimdall be every character in the movie?
He played Korath in Guardians, the cyborg that Drax ripped the earpiece off. That guy is from Africa, and he's got. Clearly he has the accent because he's from Africa, and so he would have made an interesting Black Panther, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but they already cast him as something in Marvel. Right. So.
Well, I don't know if you saw the James Brown movie, but he had that. Honestly, it was thicker than I think James Brown's actually was, but he had a thick accent, the James Brown thing. Well, I'm bad boy James Brown. Like, he talked like that, and it was pretty convincing, yeah. So, and he held it up the whole movie. So it's like, if he could do it for that, then I gotta think, obviously it's not anything like an African accent, but I gotta think he could learn it.
I think he brings chops, and I think having the Black Panther within this storyline just goes to show that they're setting up for something that breaks down all barriers. If Black Panther's getting into the system, you know that things are getting bad.
Right.
And so I like the way that the comic story is going to be able to influence the cinema universe that they've created.
Right.
Well, it's interesting too that they totally sidestepped the Mandarin question.
Yes.
That was interesting. We have a friend who's a Marvel fanboy too, and he and I have gotten into some pretty heated debates about the Mandarin as a character. But, that being said, whether or not anybody likes the whole Ben Kingsley being the wonky drug addict actor, I was at least impressed that they managed to sidestep a character that at instant inception was entirely and utterly racist. Completely, unabashedly. There's no defending it. Bad. But they sidestepped that. And I was surprised. Because had they gotten that one wrong, I don't think they would have dared bring in quote-unquote Black Panther. Because to a lay person, you're probably going to get people rolling their eyes. And then you're going to have the one kid in the room who's like, no, actually, very good character.
Right, like, he's actually legit, like...
Maybe an unoriginal name, but let's be honest.
It was the 70s. There were real Black Panthers.
Couldn't he have been the Onyx Panther? Come on.
Well, they have...
or the Ebony Panther?
Ebony Panther.
Luke Cage is going to be a thing, too. And he's basically a...
So wait, was Johnny Cage... Wait, was it Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat?
Yes.
Was he making fun of that? Because he has the same sunglasses on. I mean, obviously
Johnny Cage
was
was a riff off of, not by name, but Bruce Lee.
Oh, Bruce Lee. Okay, a white Bruce Lee.
Luke Cage in the Marvel Universe is kind of like Shaft, but done tastefully.
Okay.
He is Shaft.
Power Man.
He is Shaft. He is Superfly.
He's Black Dynamite.
And he is Deadpool, meaning hero for hire. He is the original mercenary. He was the first mercenary in comics.
Just because I gotta say, the name Power Man makes Superman look like the Beatles of superhero names. I mean, that's the worst name. What's your power? I do power because I power.
Well,
what's your power? I'm super.
I'm super.
If we're going to be honest, for a long time, Superman's power was any power he needs, he got.
Right.
And I want to slap the writer who thought of that.
Still.
Okay, well, have I already joked about little tiny Superman?
No.
That's a thing. Like, one of his powers in Golden Age or Silver Age, I can't remember which.
Is that he could go super tiny?
No. His hand went outward and a little Superman popped out who had all the same powers as big Superman to go do things. And that was a power.
So it was like...
No explanation.
Because comics.
It was like a mini-me situation? Like,
oh, yeah. Except like a doll. Except like a Photoshop scaled down Superman who was running around and doing stuff. Like, it was the stupidest thing.
That sounds
ever.
terrifying.
Oh, yeah, right? It has all the same powers and strength, too. Which
I don't like that.
Yeah, right. So it begs the question, would you rather fight 10 doll-sized mini Supermans or... Wait, I messed that up.
We need to ask you the age-old question that we just coined last time we casted. Would you rather fight 10 Ewok-sized Wookiees or 1 Wookiee-sized Ewok?
And don't answer too hastily. Keep in mind how hard it would be to kill.
I answered in 3 seconds because one has claws and one I didn't see any. So it makes it a lot easier.
I've got to go with the Ewok-sized Wookiees because
they have claws, homie.
They do, but it'd be adorable.
You just want to see an Ewok-sized Wookiee.
It'd just be fun.
Yeah, right.
The same way that I pray that science creates a puppy-sized elephant.
You're right.
Because how amazing would that be?
They do have one. It's called a tapir.
I'm finding one.
I'm gonna Google a tapir.
They just don't have the ears. They're just
but yeah, and then if you have one, do you have an Ewok-sized Wookiee growl that you could do for us? We couldn't think. Okay, so moving on, we get into now the legit movie event extravaganza of the millennia. Avengers Infinity War Part 1, and this is actually legit. This isn't a Harry Potter Part 1. This isn't a Hungry Mockingjay Part 1. I think this is a storyline that could probably actually fill 2 movies.
Lots of just explosions.
Because this just shoot some shots, or fire some shots. The third, what's it called? Hunger Games?
Yes.
Was the worst book by far. And
oh, yeah.
It wasn't that proportionally much longer than the first 2.
No.
So, anyways, I'm curious why they would make it 2. Well, I know why.
I know
why they would make it 2. Yeah, because money.
Same thing that happened with the Inheritance quadrilogy. Like the guy's like, crap, I've been paid all this money to finish this award-winning series, and I'm out of ideas. Scribble.
That's it's why, done. Yeah, because like same thing with Harry Potter 1 and 2 is like the first Harry Potter movie is so boring because they had to split it in 2 movies, so they like stretched everything out when they was walking around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Anyways, this Avengers Infinity War could definitely necessitate all 2 parts. Do we think, guys, that Thanos will be full go with the Infinity Gems, or do you think Part 1 is him like acquiring the last 1 or 2?
I think Part 1, the Scooby Gang, whatever the Scooby Gang comprises of at this point,
right,
is on the they ascertain the real threat, they then move to intercept, and then the climax is the scramble for it, and then it's going to end with Thanos getting them all.
Okay,
and done. Right, and then it's going to have perfect opening with. For part 2, Thanos is kicking butt.
Right.
Because all their bases belong to him, and he smashed. Right. And then, Thor comes leading the bromance. the bromance reinforcement squadron.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Tony Stark shoots Hulk into space. Like, what's the worst that can happen, press?
Wait, oh my goodness. And then you can literally say Return of the King, right? Because he is the rightful king.
He is.
Okay.
With the hammer.
It all comes full circle, yeah.
I cannot imagine that he would have all Infinity Gems right out the gate.
Right.
It makes sense just movie line wise, and for that matter, just causality.
Right.
That the first movie will be ascertaining Infinity Gems, figuring out exactly what that means.
Right.
It just makes perfect sense that part 1 would be that, and then part 2 would be the war part of the Infinity War.
Right.
Well, and it'd be really interesting too to see, like, maybe Thanos, this thing's going down here on Earth in our atmosphere, and so the Nova Corps starts moving because somehow the Guardians are involved, and the various other powers are starting to look towards helping Earth, but then suddenly Thanos plays the rest of his hand, and the whole Kree Empire faces off against the Xandarians to hold them at bay. And whoever needs to fight the Asgardians, or the Asgardians are busy fighting each other. Nobody expects the Thor Inquisition.
Yeah. So, I'm actually not stoked, because the way you're making it sound, and I don't know, I'm putting a lot of credit to your words here, because we have no idea what's going to happen, either of them. But Infinity War Part 1 sounds like we're on the SHIELD helicarrier, and then Avengers Part 2 sounds like we're in Manhattan, if you understand what I mean by that.
I don't know. I think there's several ways that it can work.
Just because I didn't enjoy the helicarrier portion of Avengers 1 as much as everyone else. Like, I get that the banter is good, but it doesn't hold up for, like, many watchings. You know what I mean?
They could take Thanos could get the gauntlet and then go to the center of the universe where he's going to do this whole thing.
Right.
Like, maybe move it off planet.
Although, I guess there's a lot of pieces that need to move around, because we don't know if the Guardians are acquainted with the Avengers yet. We don't know where everyone's storylines fall, so I guess we could, hopefully, that's what I'm hoping. I hope part 1 we're jumping around the universe and, like, getting acquainted with, like, all these massive pieces that will be in play for the second one. I guess that is okay. Right. Because how else are you going to do that?
Well, and if I remember correctly, so we do have Inhumans.
We do. After that. So, okay, so here, moving on. Do we have anything to say about Captain Marvel?
Well, yes, actually, because this is where things get interesting. Captain Marvel is a female, and but it's an interesting part that she's playing in comics currently, at least, because currently she is with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
And so
she's like an official member?
Yes.
Okay.
So it makes sense that after we get Infinity War Part 1, they jump to tell a Captain Marvel movie, which is attached to the Guardians of the Galaxy, which would then, in fact, be attached to this Infinity War story.
Okay.
And so it's a way to give an aside, but still move plot along overall.
Right.
So
that's cool.
And if she's from Earth, she may in fact be the link. Like, okay, the Guardians are jumping into the battle in Part 2. And, I mean, we're not going to assume these guys are going to fight with Stark's crew.
Right. She's the one that's like, look, we can trust these guys.
Homies are cool. Let's go.
Right.
Especially because we know how wary of each other the Avengers are. Obviously, if some other superhero ragtag band of bandits flies in, they're going to be like, we don't even know you.
Is that a talking raccoon?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And a walking tree? No.
And a ripoff of a Beatles song? I'm just kidding. I forget. Did we ever figure out if Rocket Raccoon was based off Rocky Raccoon?
My research said no. It was just because Rocket Raccoon was actually even older than a lot of the Marvel stuff. He was for a one-shot that they did back in the day for Chillins. And along with Howard the Duck, like, one creator was like, you know what, I'm gonna just see how many random people I can fit into the Marvel universe.
How many talking animals?
And made it part of the universe.
Fitting that, the second Disney gets a hold of Marvel, Howard the Duck all of a sudden is making an appearance. Because they love their talking animals, as we know.
Well,
talking candlesticks, talking
right. Well, and technically, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I consider In Spirit, Big Hero number 6, to be a Marvel movie.
I think it'll.
Is it based off a Marvel comic?
It is.
It actually is.
Okay.
Granted, it's a very, very little known one, partially because they attempted to combine manga tropes,
Omega flavor,
which the Silver Samurai. So anybody who is familiar with Marvel comics knows what I'm talking about. Led the Big Hero 6 group for a while.
Oh.
Which immediately for me cuts validity a little bit because the Silver Samurai is another walking racial stereotype. Yeah.
If nothing else, the Silver Samurai's like, were they even trying? Like, come on.
Well, he walks around Tokyo in samurai armor with a sword, and nobody says anything?
Right.
Like...
I'm going back to Captain Marvel and thinking about what you're talking about, and I think, knowing what you know, I think that's actually a good call. I think they will have her kind of be the bridge between them and the Guardians. I think that sounds right. Because what's so cool about these movies is that they take storylines from the 80s, from whenever, and like bring in the modern characters into them a lot. Which I find really interesting because it plays out in a way that's fresh. You know, it's not like, oh, I've read this, like I know exactly what's gonna happen. It's like, okay, that happened in the comics, not like this because the character isn't exactly the same.
Right.
So I really and I think they do a great job with how they do that.
Right.
So have they announced who's playing Captain Marvel?
Not that I know of.
Okay, it's way off. It's July 6, 2018.
But there is a Captain Marvel associated with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show currently. She's not Captain Marvel yet, but the
her
female
character becomes
right.
Marvel.
So we might see the TV show influence the movie a little bit here. It would make sense to keep consistency.
Well, and certainly with...
and they love their tie-ins. I mean, it gives people, like, I personally haven't watched the show just because I can't, like, get amped up to watch it.
It gives people like us reasons to have podcasts.
Yeah, exactly, and speculate. And
supposedly all of my Marvel fanboy friends they just love
it is good.
S.H.I.E.L.D. They tell me I need to watch it.
Right.
And I haven't yet, so...
Have they spoken on Gotham yet?
They don't like Gotham yet, but they're Marvel fanboys. My DC fanboys are still like, wait until it's over.
I'm giving it a chance.
They're all in agreement that they're not happy about Fish Mooney, but that's a whole nother spiel.
Big old story.
Is give Gotham a chance. All week. Come on, sing it, Mike. I'm not gonna give it a chance. Are we kidding?
No.
It looks terrible.
After what they did, I'm
judging a book by its cover, okay?
Okay. TV shows with DC material tends to not be.
As much as I love Batman, I prefer Batman to be in my Batman. So
right.
I'm just weird like that.
I heard you like some Batman with your Batman, so I went to put a Batman in your Batman.
That'd be nice.
Thank you.
That's exactly what I want.
I mean, it's like going to Dairy Queen and then being like, yeah, sorry, we're out of ice cream, but you can have our burger. You're like, no. I didn't come here for a burger.
That's fine, but that's not what I want.
Yeah, right. If there's nothing else to eat, I'll eat it. Come on.
It's not what we
came for a reason. So, Inhumans.
Inhumans, I'm also very excited
Space X-Men.
So explain that a little bit, Mike.
So, the Inhumans are a race of mutants, but they were designed by a super powerful alien race, which makes me laugh because they're inhuman, but they're not they're not from here. So it's a really cool tie-in that they always end up doing because if I remember correct, the Kree are the ones who the Kree hate that part of the
they're the mutant.
They're the mutant racists. Okay. Well, they're racist to everybody. If you're not Kree,
they don't like it.
Yeah, and well, it's funny too because they even have racism among their own species. Because Mar-Vell is a white, and I'm not even joking, a white Kree who looks like a Caucasian male, and they're and you looked at
Is this when they were trying to make it cutting edge and all that?
Yeah, and Ronan the Accuser is a blue Kree, and the blue Kree are superiorist to the white Kree, and I'm like, oh boy.
So they switched the roles a little bit.
Yeah, and so it's my favorite excursions that they go from the Earth mutant storyline. So they actually have tie-ins elsewhere.
Did the Inhumans and X-Men ever cross paths? Like, hey, we get each other.
Pretty often.
Yeah, they're kind of like cousins.
Right.
And I'm trying to think who.
You know, we're brothers from another planet.
Humans, because it's been a long time.
You know, they are running a comic line of Inhumans right now. And to be honest, I've bought several of them, but I have not read them. So I'm trying to jump back into that.
I'm probably gonna die because Chris, our friend, lent me 4 or 5 as Inhumans, and I don't know where they are, or remember if I gave them back. I might have given them back, but I don't want to ask him on the off chance that I didn't give them back. And now he's like, "Where are my comics?" And I'm like, "I'll find them."
Considering we might see him in a couple of days, we better.
I'll probably ask him when I see him. keep my fingers crossed. He's like, yeah, he gave this back to me, but I really don't remember. Oh, man.
That's the last person whose comics you want to, like, lose.
Nah, he'd be cool. Actually, no, not those ones. Most of them he'd be cool. He let me some Venom ones that I get the feeling if I lost, it would not be a big deal.
Like, whatever.
So, are Inhumans gonna be in Infinity War Part 2 then?
It would make sense. You know, from, again, looking back at this storyline that they're building, it makes sense that almost everything that they're doing is going to be space-oriented from Guardians of the Galaxy on.
Right.
With the exception of Black Panther. But that brings humans into an aspect of this is an overarching issue.
It'd be funny if Wakanda has had contact with, like, the aliens, because they're that much more advanced than the rest of us.
It would be an interesting take.
They just didn't say anything, because they knew once the world knew they'd lose... they'd go crazy and panic.
They're not our friends. Why would we help them?
Right.
Oh, okay. It's like that.
It is.
Inhumans are in the comic storyline within the Infinity War. And so it makes sense from a comic aspect. It makes sense from a story aspect.
Right. Plus, you got to bring it back a little bit to, like, well, I guess Thor has characters we know and love, but, like, you got to bring it back to the Earthbound at some point, just because, Guardians, Thor, Captain Marvel, Inhumans, that's like 2 years worth of all movies that don't have anything to do with Tony Stark, Captain America.
Here's the big question. As far as the Guardians storyline wrapping up. So, you have not seen Guardians. I'm going to yell spoiler. Peter Quill in that one, his dad is not the leader of the Shatari Empire. He's a ancient being. Now,
they alluded to
is he a Celestial? Because if he's a Celestial or a Titan, that puts his daddy on par with Thanos.
I can't imagine that they would do that, just because if Thanos is the super villain of this, you don't want to bring in someone that can match that.
Well, Thanos could kick the crap out of all of the other Titans, hence why he's the last and the Mad Titan. He literally obliterated them all.
Yeah.
But that's like, I'm a light heavyweight fighting against a heavyweight. It's a hell of a lot better than, like, a
welterweight
fighting a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but from just a movie aspect, you root for the underdog. And they want to make the Avengers feel small in comparison.
Right.
And so just from a movie storyline aspect, it makes sense if they're not even close and somehow they have to fight the overwhelming.
Honestly, Mike, it wouldn't surprise me if that, and I'm a Game of Thrones reference here, ended up being Renly's ghost type storyline, if you know what I mean by that. Where it's just like, you finally find out what it was, and it was really nothing the whole time, and you're like, that was not worth waiting 800 pages to find out.
Well, and we kind of get this whole neglectful dad, like, vibe throughout Guardians. It makes me wonder, too, like, maybe he's an apathetic god. He just doesn't care. And then, finally, like, something happens, Quill's about to be dominated, and he faces Thanos and gets beaten badly. It's no longer a factor by the time the big battle comes back around.
And then Star-Lord's like, Dad, you're right. I didn't need you all this time. Still don't need you. Thanks for your help. Thanks for nothing.
Dying words from his son. You know what, Dad? You did the right thing, but you're still a dirtbag.
Don't worry, Dad. I don't forgive you for anything.
Like every teenager ever.
You're right. There's gonna be mad angst in there somewhere.
Yeah, we're so far away from this that we're just in pure speculation.
Shoots in the dark.
What are you trying to say, Mitch?
I'm trying to say.
Are you trying to say we don't know what we're talking about?
As far as experts go.
Hey, I resemble that remark, okay?
Hang on. Can we just take a step back, because we're not the only podcast. Let's see how long we've been going. We're about to wrap up, by the way, guys. We've been going for an hour and 17 minutes. We are not the only podcast to go over an hour on this, because I looked up on the internet. Can we just think about how ridiculous of a use of time listening to an hour and a half podcast?
It's quite frivolous.
To people who are speculating about movies that are 4 and 5 years away, that have nothing announced or probably even set yet, or even scripts. Like, some of these, I guarantee you don't have scripts yet. They might be working on them. But it's like, we will sit here and debate, like, what's gonna happen. Like, if that's not the definition of frivolous, I don't know what is, and that's why I love it.
It's pretty meta.
We encompass and we eclipse.
Yeah. We encompass and we eclipse. I like the way you put it. We're so meta.
Oh, yeah.
That's why, you know how they have Metal Mario? There should be a meme for Meta Mario. Where
There really should be.
But then he's wearing hipster glasses, and it's just all this complicated stuff.
Hang on, let me Google Meta Mario and see.
This is happening.
Real fast. This will be real quick.
Thanks, Internet.
Mitch, any last words while I look this up?
Final thoughts are...
Did you mean Metal
Yeah,
Mario?
did you mean Metal Mario? So, alright, Mitch, you're now drug into this whole thing. You are going to help us start Meta Mario.
Okay, I am on board.
The die is cast.
I'm down for it. I think it should be hipster glasses, and the picture should be him pushing them up his nose.
Yes, bow ties. Oh, then we can do this.
Yes, and a bow tie, yeah, I like that. Okay, Mitch.
Until we get bought out by Chesburger.
Okay, yeah, I got a Chesburger. Oh man, that would be a dream come true. Anyways, Mitch, last thoughts.
Final thoughts are, man, is it a good time to be a nerd?
Right.
We are so
blessed. I mean, to particularly be a Marvel fan, but there's good things going on in the DC universe too.
Yeah.
Final thoughts are, it's a good time to be a minority.
Yeah.
Although we're not anymore.
No,
nerddom looks so much different than when we were growing up.
Right.
You know, when we were growing up, to be a nerd, you were a nerd.
You were a loser. Yeah.
Right.
You know,
but it's not that way anymore.
I've had an inkling for a little while, and I haven't run it by Kev yet. But I want to have a cast where we discuss how nerd culture as I'm going to use the word oppressed very lightly for anybody who's been really oppressed.
Right.
But in terms of meta culture and pop culture, oppressed, marginalized.
Right.
We kind of have a very light version of other groups who were like, you know what, you're not one of us.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't contribute to the movement. Right. And a psych major brought
You
this
were
up
afraid to admit you liked Final Fantasy until it got cool.
Well, no, there's
true.
There's
Yeah.
so many parallels to other groups. Like, even if it's LBQT stuff or closeted stuff, like that avenue of it is, I'm not to the point where I'm not making the parallel to racism in terms of like,
Right.
you know.
Yeah,
but
we're not crazy enough to think it was that bad.
No, but similar within the scope of pop culture, similar just outright exclusion from media production. Mm-hmm. And now the tides are shifting.
The tides have shifted, and it's a good time to wear glasses.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted to discuss the psychological implications, but then again,
That's another podcast.
and that's not frivolous.
I'd have to go back and research it. We've said that's another podcast at least once every podcast since our friend Kimo came on and coined it.
Yep.
Because every time we start going on a tangent, we have to be like,
Back it
that's
up.
another podcast. Back to this one. So, Mike, that is another podcast.
So we've got to start making these other podcasts.
Yeah, I'd say, Mitch, I would love to have Mitch on there since you
Heck
kind of
yeah.
brought it up and we haven't discussed it with you at all.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mitch, shake this hand for the mic.
High five above
Can
the
we
mic.
get a team? Okay, like a superhero team.
2,
high five.
3. Oh, that was terrible.
Wait, let's just do this. Check it out.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah! Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you another day.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Take it sleazy.
When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who shelter the shield must yield. Unless you're a plane or a bomb or some ice, then you choose to take a nap. 'Cause the ice seems nice when Captain America throws his mighty shield.